process, so thank you. The agenda today, we're going to introduce ourselves, our folks from the Denver Scholarship Foundation, go over the scholarship timeline and eligibility requirements for students, and then additional scholarship eligibility information, eligibility to apply, and then requirements to actually receive payment. Various resources to support students through the process, and then the requirements to actually receive a scholarship. So students will submit our application, but there are additional things that in deadline students have to do in order to receive payment, an initial payment, and continue to receive a payment throughout their time in college. We'll have plenty of time for questions and then share information about a few upcoming events that we'd love to have you and or your students participate in. So before we go any further, I'll introduce myself. I'm Renee Ballou, Senior Program Director. You all receive communications from me throughout the year, so excited to meet some of you. Joining us here today are my colleagues, Brianna Murphy, who's our Scholarship and Data Specialist, as well as Natasha Garfield, who is our Director of Scholarships and Financial Aid, who will be doing the bulk of the presentation today. But once again, thank you for being here and your partnership with the Denver Scholarship Foundation. And I will pass it off to the team.
Thank you, Renee. Hi, everybody. My name, again, is Brianna. I'm the Scholarship Data Specialist. I'll be talking about some of our scholarship requirements and just where we are. So the DSF scholarship application is now open as of February 1st. We are tracking ahead of where we are last year as far as applications. Star here to show we've had 373 new applications so far. Of course, we anticipate those will go up. The new applications usually take a little longer to roll in our renewals. Last year we had almost 4,000 applications total. So hopefully surpassing that this year. And that, again, that deadline to apply for all students is May 1st, and that is every single year. That deadline will remain the same. Next slide, please. All right, so we're going to start off by just going a little bit over our scholarship timeline. There are a variety of dates that students and advisors might want to keep in mind as they go through the process. So again, scholarship application opens every year on February 1st and closes on May 1st. So that is the dead timeline for students to get in those applications. And then the next big deadline for students is July 15th. So by that date, we expect students to complete their financial aid requirements with their college. They need to finalize their college choice. So when they apply, they might not know exactly where they're planning to go to college, but they do need to finalize that by July 15th. And then for new high school graduates only, that is their timeline to withdraw their application if they are not planning on attending college that next academic year. Next deadline is start of fall classes. So if students are planning on only enrolling part-time, that it's going to be less than 12 credits is what we consider part-time. They do need to submit a part-time form to still receive DSF. And then we know every year there are a number of students who do not meet the July 15th financial aid deadline. November 15th is our second chance financial deadline. So students who don't meet July 15th financial aid deadline will not be able to receive DSF in the fall. But if they complete those requirements by November 15th, they may still be eligible for a spring award. And then by start of spring classes, again, same as fall, if they are planning on enrolling part-time, they need to submit a part-time form by that first day of class. Next, please. All right, so especially on the high school side, that initial DSF eligibility is going to be really important. So our first eligibility requirement to receive DSF is that students have been enrolled in DPS for all high school time in Colorado and graduate from DPS with a diploma. And then additionally, they must graduate with at least a 2.0 cumulative high school GPA to ever be considered for DSF. So if students arrived in Colorado sometime within their high school career, that's fine, as long as they've been in DPS the entire time since they've been here. Next, we do have some tiers for high school GPAs. So depending on what GPA a student graduated high school with determines what kind of college type they might be eligible for to receive DSF at. We do look at either weighted or unweighted GPA, whichever is higher. So for a student who has a 2.0 or higher, they are going to be eligible at a technical college. If they have a 2.5 or higher, they'll be eligible at a community college. And then if a student is planning on attending a four-year college, we do expect them to have a 2.75 or higher. And we'll go over our appeal process for that as well in a couple slides. And then next, this is a need-based scholarship. So we do expect students to complete the FAFSA or CASPA and demonstrate financial need with an SAI of 16,640 or less. Every year, that's going to be 2.5 times the maximum SAI to qualify for a Pell Grant. So that number might go up as the eligibility for a Pell Grant changes. And then lastly, we do expect students to complete the Colorado residency process to be classified for in-state tuition and state aid. And they must attend one of our 30 partner colleges to be eligible for DSF. Next, please. All right, so to summarize, who should apply for DSF? So if you have new applicants, they have to meet these requirements. Again, as a summary, DPS enrollment, have a DPS diploma, or they are on track to graduate. They need to have at least a 2.0 cumulative high school GPA, meet financial need, and qualify as a Colorado resident. So looking at who should not apply, if a student has ever been enrolled in a non-DPS high school in Colorado, they cannot apply to DSF. So if they ever attended high school in Aurora or another district, they're not going to be eligible. If they didn't graduate or graduated with less than a 2.0 or received a GED, they will never be eligible to apply. So those are the cannot applies. And then looking at students who probably shouldn't apply just because it's not going to be a good use of their time. If they're not on track to graduate with at least a 2.0, if their SAI is higher than that threshold, if they're not going to be eligible for in-state tuition, or if they're just not considering attending one of our partner colleges, then it's probably not a good use of their time to apply to the scholarship. Next, please. All right, so again, just a summary of our high school GPA requirements by college type. And that's going to be Natasha. Thanks, Natasha.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all. I know some folks joined a little bit after we got started. Just want to encourage everyone, if you do have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat or raise your hand. We'd be very happy to pause and answer any questions as they come to you. So this slide is just reviewing what Brianna already went over in terms of the tiers of high school GPA by college type. Next, I'm going to take a look with you all at this decision tree that can be helpful when you're actually talking with a student about how their high school GPA is going to impact their DSF eligibility. So the first question is the student going to graduate with a cumulative GPA of 2.0 or higher? If the answer is no, as Brianna said, that student is just not going to be eligible for DSF now or in the future. There's no appeal for having that final GPA below a 2.0. If the student does graduate or is on track to graduate with a 2.0 or higher, then the student is eligible to be considered for DSF, assuming that they meet the other requirements. The next question will be, is that final cumulative GPA above the minimum that's required for their intended college type? If the answer is yes, then they move forward in the process and can focus on meeting their other requirements. They don't need to give any further thought to their high school GPA. However, if the answer is no, let's say they graduate with a 2.4 high school GPA and they're planning to enroll at a community college, they will need to submit a GPA appeal and have that approved before they can be on track for DSF. So what that looks like is we then turn to a demonstration that they're prepared for success at the college level, and they demonstrate that through successful completion of 12 or more college credits, earning at least a 2.0 cumulative college GPA, and be meeting SAP at their college. So generally speaking, for most students, they are going to need at least a semester at the college level to have those 12 credits in order to meet the high school GPA appeal requirements. So at that point, we are looking at how they're doing in college rather than what they did in high school. And once they have the 12 credits and can meet those 3 requirements, they can submit that GPA appeal at any time, and then they would be on track for a DSF award. I'm just going to pause there for a second in case anybody has any questions about the high school GPA, because I know that is something that can be a little bit harder for students to wrap their heads around. Okay, I'm going to move on then to talk a little bit about student aid index. So there may be questions. This was especially true last year when many students were quite delayed in being able to complete the FAFSA because of all of the glitches that students and families were experiencing. So we often will hear questions about what if students don't know their SAI yet? They want to go ahead and apply for DSF, but they don't have that SAI for one reason or another. So one thing we would say is there's no rush for students to apply for DSF right at this moment. They can wait until we get closer to the May 1st deadline. Hopefully they'll have their FAFSA or CASFA completed by then, and they'll have a better sense of their SAI. They can also try the studentaid.gov estimator, which is a quicker way to have an understanding of whether they're going to be DSF eligible without having to fully complete their FAFSA or CASFA before they apply for DSF. And then in the worst case scenario, if for some reason there's a student who still hasn't been able to complete their FAFSA or CASFA by mid-April, but they are on track to meet the other DSF requirements, then they should go ahead and apply. For our purposes, we do determine whether students have a qualifying SAI based on data that we receive from the institutions of higher ed in the fall. So we're not able to confirm for students whether they have met that financial need requirement until the fall. So really it's up to the students to check out their FAFSA or CASFA submission summary and understand where they are as far as the financial need component to know whether they're on track for DSF. Every year we have at least a few students who apply for the first time and they have an SAI that is well above our range and they're surprised that they didn't qualify, but we don't have access to that information until they actually start college in the fall. So unfortunately, can't confirm it for them. We have identified and articulated a new appeal circumstance that we will consider this year if it applies to students. So in light of some of the conversations that have been happening about privacy concerns related to the FAFSA, we are recognizing that there may be some parents who refuse to complete the FAFSA out of concern for their family's privacy. So we are going to consider appeals for students in that situation, and that would be an option to demonstrate financial need through an alternative method if the parents do complete the process to confirm that they are refusing to do the FAFSA or CASFA. So it would essentially be requesting an alternative demonstration of financial need. If students want to pursue that, we have a guide on our website that talks in detail about what they will need to do as far as the steps to pursue that appeal. We will ask that they show us through the college that they have otherwise completed their FAFSA or CASFA, so they need to complete the form. They will indicate in the form that their parents are refusing. They will then need to complete the college's process to document that refusal. That means that the college will ask the parents to sign a statement confirming that they are refusing to complete the application. And then we will ask the student to demonstrate that the total household AGI is at or below 250% of the applicable year's poverty guidelines. This is something that would only apply to applicants for DSF who have not previously met the financial need requirement. So any continuing scholars who have already demonstrated financial need will not need to worry about this because they only have to qualify based on need once, and then that stays with them for the rest of their time with DSF. Any questions about any of that conversation related to financial need? Okay. So now we are going to talk a little bit about some important deadlines. So when students first are considering applying for DSF, they do have a year after they graduate from high school to apply. You'll hear us refer to that as the 1-year window. So if for some reason maybe they weren't sure about their college plans, they missed the deadline the first year, they were planning on taking a year to work and save up some money, they will be able to apply the year after they've graduated from high school and start the DSF process at that point. It is important for them to know, though, that they need to qualify for their first DSF payment by December 31st of the year after their high school graduation. So if they graduated from high school in May of 2024, they have until December 31st, 2025 to receive that first award, and we refer to that as the payment deadline.
Can I add something, Natasha?
Yes, absolutely.
We would really love your partnership in outreach to students who graduated but didn't apply right after graduation to apply the following year. We have no way of providing outreach to those students. We don't, since they didn't submit an application, we don't have any contact information for them. So that is really an area where we could really use your partnership in providing outreach to those students after they've graduated if they didn't apply.
Thank you very much, Renee. And a further note there, if students applied last year, but they, for whatever reason, didn't qualify, let's say they decided not to enroll, but they did apply, we will send them lots of reminders letting them know that the application is now open and that they are eligible. So please know that we do encourage them to try again if for some reason they didn't become a scholar this past year. But for the group that Renee was mentioning, those who are eligible but didn't apply last year, we would love any support you can give us, and we'll talk about some resources that we have available that you all can use for that outreach when we get a little further along in the presentation. All right, so now we're going to talk about how long students are able to receive DSF. So those of you who maybe joined us for this conversation last year probably know that we were able to increase our years of eligibility, which we are really happy about. So students have up to 5 years of overall DSF eligibility. What that looks like is in their first 2 years of DSF, they are eligible at any of the 3 college types. In year 3, they would be eligible at a community college or 4-year college. And then in years 4 and 5, they would be eligible at a 4-year college or in a BAS program at a community college. We do make that determination for community college eligibility based on the program that the college reports to us. So it's just important that if a student is pursuing a BAS program, that they've actually declared that as their major, so that the college will let us know, and that's how we know that they should receive the additional community college eligibility. The way that we track eligibility years is based on when the student first met all of their initial DSF requirements. At that point, we assign them to a cohort which stays with them throughout their time with DSF. So for example, any students who applied for the first time and met those eligibility requirements last year were assigned to the 2024 cohort. So we'll use that year to track their progress through the scholarship. A question that we often get from students is whether they can pause their years of eligibility. Generally speaking, the answer to that question is no, we don't pause eligibility once it starts. So if they forget to renew the scholarship or they decide to take a semester off, their clock will continue to run. There's one important exception for that, and that is students who are completing prerequisites and then applying to a competitive program to continue their studies. If there is a pause that is built into that process, for example, if they have to wait to hear about their application to that competitive program, or if there's a pause where they maybe apply in the fall or winter of one academic year, but the program doesn't start until the following fall, we will allow them to pause their eligibility in that situation, so that because that is outside of their control, and we don't want them to lose out on that time when there isn't an opportunity for them to be enrolling. All right, so the thing that is always top of mind for students and families, understandably, is how much money can they receive if they receive the DSF scholarship. So our award amounts are based on college type, and they are based on full-time enrollment. So if a student is approved for part-time enrollment, their award would be prorated. The amounts are divided equally based on the number of terms at that college. So most of our college partners are on the semester system. We just have 2 that use quarters. So the award amounts would be divided in 3 for those schools. And these awards are for the fall, winter, and spring terms, if applicable at the college. We do also offer summer scholarships, which are additional. So students who receive a DSF award during the year are eligible to let us know that they will be enrolling for summer. They can enroll at any DSF partner, and then they receive an additional award. And with that, I am going to turn it back over to Brianna.
Awesome. Thanks, Natasha. So once a student has gone through all this process, they're in college, that is when we're going to determine if they're meeting those enrollment and success requirements. So we communicate directly with our college partners who report the enrollment and success requirement information directly to us for each student. So after school starts, typically after census, we receive this information from college partners. What we're looking to know is, was the student enrolled full time, which for us we consider 12 or more credits by census. And then we're checking to see, are they meeting satisfactory academic progress? And then are they completing their student success requirements at college each term? So the student success requirements vary from college to college, but typically include meeting with an advisor, maybe attending different career opportunities or other opportunities that will help a student through their college journey. Again, determined by college, but we do require that students are doing all of these things each semester. And are really the final pieces for us to determine if they are eligible for award each term. Next, please. So if a student meets all of those requirements at least one term during the school year, they are eligible for those summer scholarships, as Natasha said. Nice thing is students, they don't have to attend the same college. So we have a lot of students who maybe attend CSU during the school year, come home to Denver for the summer. They could take a class at CCD or CCA, any of our college partners, and receive the summer scholarship. And those are those award amounts reiterated there. Next, please. Awesome. So if you are interested in getting an eligibility list for your school, I know a lot of folks have already signed up, but go ahead and scan that QR code. So I will send these out periodically throughout the application open time with application submission info. So what that list will include, and we'll look at an example on the next slide after I give everyone some time to scan that if they're interested. But you'll get a list of all of your students who are eligible to apply. And then as applications come in, you'll get a list of students who have either already submitted an application or students who have started and not finished. So maybe they could use some prompting to get that application in. So here's what those lists are going to look like this year. Again, eligible to apply indicates if they are meeting that DPS enrollment. So that's going to be a yes, a no, or a blank. If a student has a blank, it typically means that they were classified as an 11th grader during October count. We do make our determinations based on the October count. So if you have a student who is now in 12th grade and is planning on attending college and you would like us to update that, you can send me an email and we can get that, we can check and see if that's updated, if we can update that for you. It is a manual process at that point, so we do ask that you only reach out about students who are likely to apply and qualify, because it is kind of time consuming for us, but we are happy to do it for a student who is wanting to apply. And then application status will tell you if their application is open, they can get in there, if they've already started it, if they've submitted it, or if they are unfortunately ineligible. So again, if you are interested in receiving these, you can use that form and we'll send that out after this meeting as well. Next, please. So once a student gets in to apply, this is the website they're going to use and what it's going to look like when they log in. So in order to create an account, we do check based on DPS ID and birthday. So they'll need to make sure they have both of those. Very occasionally we have students whose birthdays that they're trying to put in don't actually match what they have in IC. So if they're having issues, that is something to check. And then they do need to have a personal or a college email. We don't want them to use that DPS email because then they will lose access to their portal after they lose access to the DPS email. So once they log in, they're going to click that Create Account button. Next, please. And once they click that Create Account button, they will see the list of eligibility requirements, just like we've gone over with you guys. So they'll see that list, they'll have some resources. We do show this to them a couple times just to make sure that they're, again, making a good use of their time. We don't want students to put a lot of effort into their application if they're not going to end up qualifying. So they'll see that list of eligibility requirements here. Next, please. And then once they click next, they'll put in their information. And if a student isn't eligible to apply, they will see an explanation explaining why they're not eligible, in addition to our phone number that they can call if they believe they should be eligible. So occasionally, one thing we often see is a student who came from out of state or out of country was incorrectly reported as coming from a different school district in Colorado. So if they believe that they should be eligible, they can give us a call or they can use the Get in Touch button on the portal as well. Any questions about portal? Oh, I have one more portal slide. I'll talk about that first. But if you have any questions, feel free to shout them out. Once they log in, this is the page that they will see. So in this example, the student has already started an application, but they have not finished it. So they will see that continue application button. Once a student has submitted their application, they can change their college choice here on this first page as well. So the student initially chose Regis. If they change their mind before July 15th that they want to go to a different college, it's really just a one-click button to change it. But it is important that they let us know on time what college they're planning on attending. Oh, another important thing is new applicants must list 2 additional scholarships they've applied for, plus a student support program they're applying for. They can also list 3 scholarships, but we do encourage DSF scholars to apply to a student support program just because we know how useful it is for students, especially in their first year of college. Any questions about portal or applying? All right, well, I will pass it off to Natasha.
Hi again, everyone. So I mentioned before that we have lots of resources that we would love to have you all use to encourage both your current students and students who graduated last year to apply. So we have a toolkit that is a Google Drive folder that we'll be sharing out in our follow-up materials today. All kinds of things in there, including slides if you want to do a presentation to your students, postcard images, posters that you can post up if you have a counseling center room that students like to hang out in, hallways, all kinds of things that you can use. And the scholarship one-pager has all of the details about eligibility, which can be especially helpful if you're talking with parents who might want to see the details of what the requirements are and then what their student can expect from the scholarship. We will also be inviting all applicants to join us for an Almost There workshop. We'll share a little bit more information about that in a few slides here, but we will send them reminders to join us for that and would love it if you can encourage them to do that as well. And then I did mention before that we reach out to students who are eligible to apply. That continues throughout the application season. If they have an existing portal account, and they have either not started their application yet or maybe started but not submitted, we will send them both text and email reminders to encourage them to get that done by the deadline. So we love it if students do opt into our texts. We use those really sparingly and only for important reminders to help them stay on top of their deadlines. We also wanted to ask you all to share these opportunities for financial aid support. So next weekend, next Saturday, the 22nd, we will be hosting a workshop at our office. Students and families can sign up for appointments using that QR code or by going to the DSF website to our events page. We will have support available in English and Spanish for FAFSA or CASFA, and really encourage families to join us. We will also be offering a virtual option. So if folks aren't able to make it in person, but would like to get some support or ask questions online, that will be available as well. And that they can sign up through the same link for either in-person or virtual support. And then we also have an ongoing series of workshops in partnership with Capital One. Those are at the Capital One Cafe near Union Station. So a variety of different dates that folks can choose from if they would like to join us for support at those events. And then I mentioned that we would be inviting all of our applicants, our new applicants, to join us for an Almost There workshop. So that will be happening on Thursday, May 8th at 10:30. It'll be online, and students will receive emails about that, encouraging them to attend, but we would love it if you all can spread the word as well. We've had some folks host watch parties for their students, which I think can be a really nice way to build some excitement about the scholarship and encourage students to learn about their upcoming requirements. So we try to keep that short and sweet, but it's a good opportunity for students to understand what they need to do to make sure that they actually receive the scholarship award once they've applied. And with that, I will hand it over to Renee.
Go for it, Brianna. Did you mean to raise your hand?
Yeah, I was just going to say that students who attend those Almost There workshops do receive DSF at higher numbers. So we really encourage students to apply because we have seen it had a positive effect on students receiving the scholarship.
Great, thank you for that. We'll pause for a second. We only have 2 or 3 more slides, 2 more slides, I believe. So we're coming to the end of our time together, but are there any questions that we could answer about the scholarship? Anything that didn't make sense, anything that was confusing? Okay. We're not going to quiz you. Okay. No questions. So let's see here.
Actually,
Scholarship.
I had
Oh,
one.
please.
Sorry, I had one quick question.
Yay,
I
we
would
have a question.
a question. Yeah. I- we've been working with quite a few students these last couple weeks on doing DSF. I would say the number one question that seems like it throws students is that the scholarship question of like, did you apply to 3? When it in the drop down list, it often will say like the Metro State institutional scholarship. Could you clarify, like some of those schools, just the admission application also counts as the scholarship application, or are you saying that they also need to like one step further and like do a specific scholarship at that college? Could you just maybe clarify, talk a little bit about that?
Do you want to
Renee,
take it, Natasha, or do?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy.
Okay.
So we really are encouraging students to seek out other resources, and that's the purpose for that question on the application. So if the college offers something like, let's say at CU Denver, they have Scholarship Universe, and they actually do, that is separate from some merit-based aid that students might qualify for through admissions. So we really do want students to seek out those additional opportunities. And the reason that we promote the institutional scholarships is we know that they have a much greater likelihood of receiving those. We know it's easy to do some of the maybe lottery type scholarships, but the institutional ones, they often don't even get enough applicants to distribute all the money that they have. So that's what we're really looking for students to do. So we are hoping that they'll complete the institution's application beyond whatever they might qualify for through admissions. Is kind of what we're thinking there. I mean, it's important to note that we don't verify that students have applied for those scholarships. It is on the honor system, but we're just trying to encourage them to get as much aid as they can to help them with the cost of college so that they can not feel stressed about the financial aspects. Does that kind of?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah,
okay.
I was just kind of, I was just wanted a little clarity because there are sometimes, it's like you said, the merit-based stuff that's just included with the application. But then, I've seen the Scholarship Universe, and then, every school has its own little kind of additional thing. So yeah, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Right. I mean, we would hope, I guess what I'd say is we would really encourage them to do that, at least at the school that they think they're most likely to attend. And if they're I've supported a number of students who are very clear, like, I'm going to Metro, I'm going to CCD, like they're not really exploring different options. They've sort of already identified where they plan to go. In that case, maybe it makes sense to go through the application process for those additional institutional scholarships at that college. And maybe they do a couple of scholarships that are not quite as labor intensive for the other two. Any other questions?
Well, if questions come up, we have weekly office hours every Thursday now through May 1st. And I sent all this information out in a digest recently with the link to join, but we could share that again if you need it. So if questions come up, a lot of you reach out to me directly with questions, which is perfectly fine. If you would like to have a conversation with someone, this is a good opportunity, the office hours, to join and really ask any questions you might have about our program, scholarship, eligibility, our technical help with the actual application. And you can encourage students or parents to join as well if you get any questions from them. Lisa?
Good morning. Can you
Hi,
hear me?
Lisa.
Good morning.
We can. Mhm.
I put it in chat, but to clarify, if a student moved to the United States from a different country during their senior year, they can still qualify for the DSF scholarship.
That's correct. So long as they were enrolled in a DPS high school,
Mhm.
the time that they've been in the state.
Okay, thank you.
Just one important note there with students who are really recent arrivals, they do need to be able to meet the requirement for Colorado residency at their college. So they will be eligible to apply for DSF, but then in terms of receiving an award, the college will report to us whether they've met the requirements for in-state tuition classification. And so if they haven't been in Denver or in Colorado for a year, they may not be ready for that residency classification. So that may be something to have them check with the college, just so they have reasonable expectations about receiving DSF. We would encourage them to apply if they're, sorting that out, but we don't want them to plan on having the funds from DSF and then learn that they don't actually qualify for the in-state tuition piece.
That's a great reminder.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that. If they did arrive after October count, we might not have marked their account as eligible to apply. So if you do have a senior who is planning on graduating, planning on attending college, but they arrived after that October count date, you'll have to reach out to us because they likely will not have access to the portal.
Great question,
Okay,
Lisa.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
In our last slide, these are all of the resources if you need any support or your students need any support throughout the process. Our amazing scholarship team is available. Their contact information is listed here. I'm available. You have access to our office hours that you don't need to sign up for or make an appointment. You could just drop in. And then students who need support can contact us through the student portal, or again, join us for office hours. So lots of opportunities to get the support that you need and get your questions answered. So if there are no other questions, you know where to find us. Again, thank you for your partnership, Brianna and Natasha. Anything else to add? You good? Great. Thank you all for being here. Have a good day.